Hey, what's up, guys? It's your man JP here. This is JP's World of Wrestling. Right now, I'm just kind of walking around my apartment here because my wife is in there trying to take a nap. You know, it's Sunday afternoon. People take naps, whatever. We're home from church, everything. But yeah, I'm just coming on here to introduce the next video you're about to see, and that is the day that wrestling died, where me and Joe were just kind of in his car yesterday. Driving to go out to eat, and we just decided to do a video about the day that wrestling died, which was, of course, back in 2001 when WCW was bought out by Vince McMahon and the WWF. And him and I have a conversation about that. And then on the way back from the restaurant, we had another conversation about No Holds Barred, the movie, where we review Hulk Hogan's starring debut in a movie, and that was a pretty fun conversation to have. So anyway, I wanted to ask you guys if you like the stuff with Joe. You know, do you like when him and I go back? I love it personally because he's my best friend, and him and I we could just talk for hours and hours about this stuff. And as you can see, when we get on one subject, we go off on a whole nother tangent. And but I mean, it's fun when we do it, but then we always tend to bring it back to the conversation. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I hope that you enjoy the following video, the day that wrestling died. Hope you enjoy it. Hey, what's up, guys? JP's World of Wrestling. Obviously, different backdrop here. I got Joe with me, and we are on our way to go eat, and we're gonna just talk about the day that wrestling died, and basically that includes talking about the day that WCW was bought out by the WWF and Vince McMahon. And I remember it vividly because I was in Job Corps at the time when I heard that WCW was getting bought out, and it blew my mind. Like, this can't be happening.
Yeah. Well, you and I, okay, so for that context, we had been watching WWF for years. It was basically our entire childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it. And it was a Monday night because I would drive over to your house. And when the Attitude Era had hit, we got sick and tired of the nasty, it was just garbage.
Yeah.
That whole era, no offense to the wrestlers that had to make do with the era, but man, it was just garbage.
Yeah.
It was, I not just disliked it, I loathed it.
Yeah.
It was...
Well, yeah, Vince McMahon.
It was Mark Henry with sexual chocolate, and you had Val Venus, who's supposed to be a porn star and wearing towels, and they were doing bits like somebody's dead in the backstage, and Vince McMahon is... It honestly, beyond what I can even describe on this video, it was just disgusting and horrible.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was not invested in any of the wrestlers. I did not like DX or the Attitude Era. And any of the talent that I had historically liked were either a part of these shifting gimmicks or whatever. It was just too idiotic to watch. So Jason and I, we had this big exodus from WWF, which was sad for about a half second, except that Eric Bischoff was destroying it.
Yes.
At the WCW. Like, the content was night and day. It was the easiest thing in the world to leave WWF because what they were doing on Nitro was just killing it. I had kind of gotten tired of Hulk Hogan in the mid 90s with the leg drop and the whatever, and I was actually kind of cheering for Ric Flair.
Yeah, and a lot of people were getting tired of Hulk Hogan. And WCW and Eric Bischoff, they recognized this, So they were like, okay, what can we do to fix this? And then they came up with this idea. Well, what if we turn Hogan heel?
Right.
So at first Hulk was kind of reluctant, but then these two other guys from WWF, that being Razor Ramon and Diesel, their contracts were up with WWF, so they came to WCW. And so Eric Bischoff came up with this idea of what if these two guys start wreaking havoc, and we hint about a third man. Who's going to be the third man?
Right.
And so everybody remembers what happened at Bash of the Beast. Hulk Hogan ended up being the third man. What's funny is on Eric Bischoff's podcast, he said that there are rumors that Mabel was going to be the third man. and he's like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Mabel was never.
That was just a rumor going on?
Yeah, that was like Dave Meltzer's dirt sheet. He was like, oh, Mabel's going to be the third man.
Well, I saw Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair live at the Portland Memorial Coliseum, I think in 1992.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wanting Ric Flair to take care of business.
Yeah.
I was tired of, I still loved Hogan, but I was just tired of him constantly being champion, because in my mind it diluted the belt after a while. It was like, you already know the outcome.
Yeah.
He's been champion for years.
Right.
And I started to live in disbelief that anybody posed an actual threat, and it was kind of like, I liked the idea that something could be at stake.
Yeah.
And you didn't know who might win. And with Hogan, it was, of course, he's going to win.
Yeah.
So, but that was the brilliance of what Eric Bischoff did, in my view, because Jason, man, you and I remember, we lived through this.
Yeah.
We leave the Attitude Era, which was absolutely deplorable garbage that was not worth watching, maybe save for Mick Foley.
Yeah.
I could not stand The Rock.
Yeah.
I could not stand DX or
Stone Cold.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stone Cold. I could not stand Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so we switch over to WCW, and then it goes into what I think was probably the other greatest era in wrestling history ever. The first one being the good old days. Mr. T, WrestleMania 1 through about 6, 7.
Yeah.
You've got, Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake, and Ted DiBiase, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Right.
And I loved, my favorite big man of all time, I loved Yokozuna. That was to me the first big, best of the best era of professional wrestling. But once you got into the late 90s, mid to late 90s, it was tired, and it was idiotic, and it was not watchable in my view. So here we are, we're over at WCW, and man, we are wearing it completely worked. Yeah. Seeing Hulk Hogan reintroduced as a heel. Right. And I remember, man, the first time I ever saw the NWO, I actually remember wondering, and I'm not joking, I really do remember wondering if what we were seeing on TV was real.
And a lot of people wondered that.
The NWO kind of interrupted the WCW broadcast. Yeah. They would and they would edit in, and they would take over the broadcast like they were running the thing. Yeah. And they were beating guys up, and they were breaking out of the first time I remember like serious locker room scuffles, and and we seriously, I remember really seriously wondering if there was some rival brand that had infiltrated the WCW.
Yeah, people thought that Razor Ramon and Diesel were hired by Vince to come down to WCW and like just wreak havoc and infiltrate WCW. But
well, because Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hogan kind of left WWF and kind of ended up almost what felt like overnight. Yes. In WCW, and I remember you and I, seriously, man, we didn't know where the lines of reality were.
No, and
fact, it was so good.
Yeah, in fact, there was an episode of Nitro that took place at the Disney MGM studios, and it was outside. And suddenly, like, there's a match going on. Suddenly, the NWO shows up. They start beating people up. I remember because it was where Kevin Nash picked up Rey Mysterio and threw him like a dart into the side of this trailer. And people in the area called the cops because they thought that this was real. Yeah. And the cops actually showed up. When you go back and watch the tape, you can actually see the police showing up. And so somebody from WCW had to like wave them up like, no, this is all work. You don't understand. It's part of the show.
Right.
So the cops decided to just kind of stick around, but
Well, you know, when you started the video, you kind of teased that it was the day that wrestling
Yes.
died, because you and I could go on and on and on about WCW.
yes. So yeah,
but
so
we were ate completely up with WCW.
yeah, like WCW had kind of run its course, you know. Like
You mean WWF?
WWF had run its course for us.
Yeah.
But WCW, you know, they had done away with the NWO, so their ratings weren't as good. But I still preferred it over WWF. And then suddenly,
Overnight.
Yeah, suddenly overnight,
Yep.
they do this simultaneous broadcast of WCW Nitro and WWF Raw, where Shane McMahon is showing up on Nitro.
We watched this,
Yeah,
and I didn't see it coming.
no,
I had driven over to Jason's house
yeah,
for what was going to be our Monday night jam, and I'm ramped. Right, here we go again.
yeah.
It's going to be Nitro. It's going to be good.
yeah.
And this was what, 1998,
No, this was in 2001.
2001.
Yeah,
I had driven over to your house. It had to have been earlier than 01. Because
Well,
by the time it was 01, I was living in Salem.
okay. Well,
1990,
WCW was bought out in 2001.
Okay, so my memory is not perfect.
What? Actually, I was actually in Job Corps when this happened.
Okay,
So,
but I come over to your house, and we are ready for our Monday night jam, and we're like, what is this?
yeah,
And our jaws are on the floor. What is this? What is happening? What could this be?
yeah.
And it's this series of announcements. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's a series of announcements saying that this was going to be the final broadcast of WCW Monday Nitro, and that they had new owners, and then Ric Flair comes out and shoots this promo about how he heard Vince McMahon say that he had WCW in the palms of his hands.
That was a nightmare.
Oh yeah, because like Ric Flair, we remember because we kind of made fun of it a little, like because he came out and was like, did I?
Oh, yeah, and wasn't that part of it was real. At first, that was not a work.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Ric Flair was fuming
Yes.
at the comment that Vince McMahon had made about buying WCW out and holding WCW in the palms of his hands, because Ric Flair's assertion was that WCW is 3 letters from the alphabet. Without the talent, guys like Sting and Lex Luger and Ric Flair that had rivaled WWF for years,
Right.
you've got a piece of paper.
Yes.
Without the talent, who you will never own, you don't have anything. And so my understanding is Ric Flair took that personal,
Yeah.
and he was apoplectic
Yeah.
about that statement.
Yeah, and I remember, like, sort of after that, the thing that made Sting not want to join with WWF is when Booker T showed up in the WWF and The Rock, you know, asked him, who are you? And Sting was like, oh, really? This guy's a 3-time WCW champion, and you're gonna ask him who he is? That's kind of when Sting said, yeah, I'm not gonna go with these guys. If they're gonna treat our talent like garbage.
Right. Well, the reason that I feel, for me, and then you can tell why for you.
Yeah.
But for me, that was the day that wrestling died, because we had grown up with WWF fever.
Yeah.
From the 3rd grade until we switched over to WCW and had such an epic run, man, of pretzels and Mountain Dew nights and big pay-per-views and wrestling and just a fever-pitched season of years. And we could not stand the WWF. And now that WWF was buying out WCW, that was the end of the line. There was no, in my view, there was no product to watch that I cared anything about whatsoever. And so it was devastating to learn that WCW was being bought out, because we felt kind of homeless for a little while in terms of where to go to watch wrestling.
Yeah. All we had was like the old school pay-per-views that we grew up watching as a kid.
You could rewatch the old stuff, but then you know, how long do you to do that? So and because we never went back to WWE,
no,
even the name changed to WWE, we mocked that.
Yeah.
But they went all transparent. I know that everybody ever watching wrestling. And you know, when we were kids, it was this fight about whether it was real or whether it was fake or whether it was phony or whether it was legit.
Yeah.
And you know, we always knew that it was prearranged or predetermined.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining to see them try to sell you on the idea that this was real.
Yeah.
And when they went WWE, to me, I read that as an admission that it's just an entertaining product.
Yeah.
And we're smarter than you, and we understand that you're tired of having your intelligence insulted.
Yes.
And it's time to just be transparent. I'm like, no, it's not. It's time to get back to WCW. Eric, where are you at?
Yeah.
Fix this thing, man.
I know. Well, and after that, I kind of like peppered in and out. I was kind of in and out. Sometimes I would kind of go back to it just to kind of see what they were up to. And then I'm like, nah, I don't care.
I never did.
And then when I got married the first time, my wife was into it, so I just got back into it just because she liked it and whatever. But she was into like, you know, Triple H and DX and these guys, and I didn't care. I
watched it because she liked it.
I watched it, but I was into guys like Chris Jericho, who was in the WWF at the time. He was a heel, and he was feuding with Shawn Michaels or whatever. But I was into that, but I didn't care about most of the stuff they were doing. I didn't care about like they tried to bring back the Undertaker, but then they brought him back as like this biker guy, and I didn't really like that because to me he wasn't the Undertaker. But then they brought the Undertaker back as kind of the Undertaker. Which, that was okay. That was pretty cool, but it wasn't this. It still wasn't the same.
Yeah, that was the last. That for me, it was like an off switch.
Yeah.
The night that I found out and watched Ric Flair, the "Did I hear?" speech, and they revealed that WWF had bought him out. You may have gone back on occasion to kind of resonate. I on a couple of occasions have gone back with my kids to relive some of the old matches, but man, I couldn't tell you anything beyond like 99, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And I've never gone back. I've never gone back, and that's why I say for me, after an entire childhood of having all the action figures, and every birthday has to be a Hasbro, and before that an LJN figure.
Yeah.
The day that WWF bought them out was the day that wrestling died.
And that was probably the last time that I really, really loved watching wrestling.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, since then, it's okay, it's wrestling, I guess.
When AEW was kind of coming on, about 3.5-4 years ago, I remember having feelings like maybe we would get an alternative product from the WWE. That would, and they were advertising it like it would almost be symptomatic of the old 1980s, maybe elements of new opportunities for wrestlers to come and sell again, and honestly, man, we didn't even get through the first pay-per-view before I had lost interest, and I don't want to disclose why because it's personal, but I just not watching this.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
So we're back to I have no one to watch, nothing to watch.
We're back to just going to like local independent wrestling promotions.
That's right. So if you're out there and you feel as we do, check out support your local wrestling. Out here we've got Mid-State Wrestling.
We have MSW, and then we have like this year they've got New Breed Wrestling.
Yeah.
Mid-States is probably a little bit better, but yeah, Mid-States for out here is really good. But
it's a raucous good time, and what we love about MSW out here in Missouri is it's very clean, and they tell you right at the onset of every event, ladies and gentlemen, we will not tolerate any profanity. If you are heard vocalizing vulgar things, you will be asked to leave without a refund. So it's very much heel versus babyface, old-fashioned wrestling, you know, body slams and drop kicks. So anyway, WWF killed WCW and didn't offer anything worthy of watching in my view. And so
I mean, and for a while, you know, they since they had no competition, they tried to create their own competition by splitting up the rosters. Oh, now there's Raw, there's SmackDown. it was all confusing because they had
it's mind-numbing.
They had 2 world champions. They had a U.S. champion. They had an intercontinental. There was like too many belts, too many times. They watered the product down. It's just
Hunter Hearst Helmsley, in my totally amateur, just a viewer-based opinion. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a journalist for professional wrestling. But what I understand is that he has done a fabulous job training these wrestlers how to sell, how to make a believable narrative in a match, and to build on nuance and listen to the crowd and all the psychology that makes a match interesting. But as soon as he loses control and these wrestlers go off to do tapings and stuff, and I don't know. I don't work for the WWE. I can't tell you if it's Vince McMahon that basically ruins them. I don't know, but there's not a match today that I would care anything about.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's actually what Ted DiBiase told us when we interviewed the night before we interviewed Ted DiBiase. He told us that Triple H, he trains him the right way, the old school way, how to sell and how to tell stories, and then Vince McMahon essentially gets a hold of them and just destroys their
and
character.
That's it.
then he turns them into some dumb character that nobody cares about. So, and like I said before, if you're into modern era wrestling, great. I don't care, but I'm just not into it as much. And I mean, I just did my video yesterday about the death of Bray Wyatt, who's a modern era wrestler that I actually did kind of like because he was different than these other ones, because he actually told stories. And he was the son of IRS but
Mike Rotunda?
Yeah, he was the son of Mike Rotunda.
He passed away?
His son did, Bray Wyatt.
No, I know. I didn't realize.
Yeah, his son passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is too bad. It sucks. And I just did a video yesterday about the passing of Bray Wyatt. But yeah, I mean, there's like a couple modern era wrestlers that I like, but WWE doesn't ever do anything with them that matters.
I wish that somebody somewhere, man, like Bret Hart, there was rumors or there was motion or movement or energy maybe a few years ago, or maybe I just am daydreaming that I heard this, but I could have swore like 6 years ago there were rumors that Bret Hart was working with somebody to present a wrestling brand that was going to be more old school. But I'll tell you, man, I don't know what Vince McMahon knows about the industry, and I will close with this because we're going on like 20 minutes now.
Right.
I don't know what these titans that have made lots and lots of money with wrestling know about the industry and why they would shoot this down. Just being a layperson and a person who used to spend a lot of money on the product and pay attention to the outcomes and stuff.
Yeah.
I will just tell you, as a fan, there isn't anything nationally on TV that I care anything about, and I wish that somebody like Bret Hart would team up with a Hunter Hearst Helmsley and create, a modern product, but get back to the silly old, like you've joked about the vocational gimmick wrestlers. We don't need a dump truck driver. We don't need an MVP baseball player. But the old psychology of heel versus babyface. Let's get some monsters in the ring again, like King Kong Bundy. Yeah. Just monsters to get in there and make you believe that the babyface is in trouble. Yeah. Let's have the title mean something where it changes hands once every 8 or 9 months. To a year, as opposed to every week, so that the belt means nothing. If somebody built that, in my life, I've got about that much recreational time, but I'd probably spend it with my kids watching that, and it has to be wholesome. Right. That was it for me. Yep.
I will second that thought. And there's a number of independent promotions there's NWA on YouTube, there's MLW, but every time I've tried to watch one of those, I just can't get into it. So anyway, but that's the day wrestling died
for us.
Yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this car ride talk impromptu thing. So anyway, if you're new here, Now you know where I'm going, don't you? Go ahead and like and subscribe and share if you want to, and I'll see you next time.
And maybe in the comments, tell us if you like this enough you want us to do it again.
Yeah. So, if you, like I said, if you're new here, go ahead and like and subscribe, share, whatever. I'll see you next time.